Round 1. Teams get their feet under them, determine whether they belong. And just when they begin to feel at home, it's round 2. Yesterday's thrilling accomplishment is rewarded with an even greater challenge. To advance means duplicating the unlikely, maintaining focus, or simply continuing to turn the remarkable into an everyday accomplishment. Regionals loom. What happens there? There's only one way to find out.
The NCAA Women's Championships.
Quita Wallace for Temple, instant offense off the bench, tremendous spark plug on the offensive end, and then Maya Moore, who I believe is the most complete player in the game today. Scores, rebounds, defends, sets up her teammates. Ought to be a great matchup.
Let's look at tonight's Capital One starting lineups, and as Stephen mentioned, Quita Wallace has been the high scorer, but she'll come off the bench. Kristen McCarthy, you see in the sophomore forward. She's all-10 first team, and their leading scorer by average, Lakeisha Edey. Great defensive guard for UConn. If it's not Maya Moore, it's Tina Charles. They're both up for the Wade Award. And how about Tiff?
Shoots it so easy from deep. Got enough strength in her shoulders to really extend her jump shot a couple feet beyond the three-point line.
Stephen, as far as Temple's concerned, what do they have to do on offense? I mean, UConn averages 80 points a game. Temple's usually in the 50s. They average about 61.
Well, you saw Kristen McCarthy right there force up a tough one. She and Lakeisha Edey, and when Quita Wallace comes in off the bench, they're going to have to generate some offense because trying to score against UConn in a half-court set is a difficult task.
There's McCarthy on her first shot of the night and missed from 3. Tried to save it out of bounds, and it goes to Connecticut. Tanya Cardoza, the head coach of Temple in her second year. You see 14 years, a UConn assistant, was Coach Oriema's right-hand coach, always sat to his right for all those years, and what a great job she's done her first 2 years in Philadelphia.
You see right off the bat, Temple's going to double-team Tina Charles every time she touches.
And if they do that, Maya Moore has plenty of room to shoot from 3, and she's hit her first 2. If she keeps doing that, Temple's not going to have much of a chance.
No, this is what makes UConn so difficult to defend. You try to take one thing away from them, and they've got 4 other places to go to get offense.
Lakeisha Edey, what a great game against James Madison to try to lead Temple, get them on the board. First 2 minutes, looking for their first basket. And, Stephen, in a game like this where you're taking on such an overwhelming number one and now 4 to shoot here, got to get some confidence early. And UConn's defense is going to force a 30-second shot clock violation. Not the start that Temple was hoping for.
No, and it looks as though Temple's a little nervous, with good reason, coming out here facing the number one team in the country and knowing what's at stake here. And then Maya Moore showing you her game early.
And a whistle by Christy Watkins Day, her first. So UConn will inbound, side out. Temple has missed its first 3 shots and a turnover on the shot clock violation. Temple played great defense, Stephen, in that first round game against James Madison. Why do they play such good defense?
Well, they help each other. They've got good quickness and length.
See if they can cash in. And a whistle out of bounds, so it'll stay Temple ball as Temple could not convert on the fast break.
And getting back to your point, Lakeisha Edey at the point guard position, one of the better defenders in that A10. And then you also have Christine Watson-Day, who's a defensive specialist. So between the two of them and the length on the front line, they're tough to go against.
Marley Bennett knocking down the three-pointer, so that gets Temple on the board. Now we'll see if defensively they can stay in. They double on Maya Moore, lost it temporarily, and there's the takeaway.
Well, and they're also scrapping, Mark. Oh, what a pick.
Maya Moore taking it in for the basket. What a fabulous junior player for UConn. She's got all 8. It's Maya Moore 8 and Temple 3.
I think she's a little upset she got the ball taken away from her, so she's going to make amends quickly.
Lakeisha Edey passes out. Temple trying to get through this first segment here. And goes through the hands of Edey. They have 6 seconds to shoot. She looked back at the clock to see it. Into the post. Jasmine Stone with 2. With 1. Did not get it off. Here comes UConn the other way. Caroline Doty going right to the rim and putting it in. Timeout Temple. I think Tanya Cardoza didn't like the fact that the guard was able to get right through the lane. How about Maya Moore in the early going, Stephen?
Well, Maya Moore didn't quit on the play defensively. You see she gets back, gets in position, and Watkins Day a little casual with the basketball. And look at this. One hand off the bounce going to the hole. Maya Moore showing you her athleticism, and Caroline Doty, you got to stop the basketball in defensive transition. Temple fails to do that.
And if you're a coach, that's the first thing you're seeing to first end the momentum, but secondly, someone's got to pick her up coming down the middle.
Well, and that's what makes UConn, again, very difficult to defend. Caroline Doty and Kalena Green, Tiffany Hayes can all take the ball and go full court with it, so very difficult to defend.
We've seen a lot of special players in women's college basketball over the years, but Maya Moore ranks right up there with them.
Tell you what, in the same breath as Tamika Holzclaw, that young lady from the Chicagoland area that became a household name.
Temple down 7. This is B.J. Williams into the lineup for the first time, and her layup try won't go. Tiffany Hayes, the ball handler, number 3 for UConn. Connecticut winners of 73 in a row, and Tiffany Hayes knocks down a triple. UConn hasn't missed yet. 5 for 5 so far this evening.
We saw in their first round game, Southern came out and played a little bit tougher right now than Temple is. Temple really can't find their rhythm offensively.
Stephen, nice shot off the window for Jasmine Stone. You know, if you look for who's going to beat UConn down the road, or even tonight if Temple's going to come back, they need UConn to play its C+ game. They're now 6 for 6 from the field as Tina Charles hits.
Well, the thing that you notice about watching UConn right now is the speed at which they move on the offensive end. Just no margin of error when you're defending them.
Here comes UConn the other way. And this time the other guy, Tiffany Hayes, tried to go coast to coast. Well, they do play at a fabulous speed. We were watching practice yesterday. I remarked to you that They did a drill where they ran from one side of the court to the other and then made that turn to come back, and it was about as fast as I've seen anywhere. Here's Stone. Caroline Doty with the basket. UConn continues to hit with precision. 7 of 8 from the field, and a quick 12-point lead for the #1 seed in the Dayton region, the #1 team in the country. They haven't lost in 2 years, and right now they look like they want to pack their bags for Dayton the way they've come out here. Off the back door, and the pull-up doesn't go for McCarthy.
You see, UConn saw something on tape that makes them feel like they can run against Temple every possession, and that's exactly what we've seen thus far.
Caroline Doty the basket, fouled by Christy Watkins-Day. What a start for Connecticut. Here she is, Caroline Doty. Off the window and in. Everything good, everything great for UConn early. Connecticut with the early dominant lead. You see Tanya Cardozo, the Temple head coach. Well, she's going up against her former mentor, Gina Auriemma, 37-year-old Gino in the 1991 Final Four against Debbie Ryan and Virginia. And there she is, Tanya Cardozo, hitting 4 big free throws at the end of that game in New Orleans in the national semis. Virginia took out UConn. And Tanya Cardozo, of course, would then become a Gino Auriemma assistant. And there's the coaching tree. He's very proud of Tanya now at Temple for a couple of years. And Jen Rosati, who was on that 95 national championship team at Hartford. And now Jamel Elliott at Cincinnati, among many. That's always prideful for a coach. He's been there now 25 years to see some, mostly former players, just Tanya, former assistant, and the others were assistants too after their playing days.
Yeah, it's a good barometer of what type of coach you are to see what your past players do in terms of their career choices. We've seen a number of his past players get into the coaching profession, and so that tells you a lot about the effect he's had on them.
They get it down to Tina Charles despite the double team, and Maya Moore comes flying in to tip it in. Wow, 10 for Maya Moore.
I was telling you before, I stare at Maya Moore so much, she probably thinks I like her or something, but I'm staring because I cannot believe her game. She's got so much game. Athleticism on the offensive tip there.
Well, we're seeing a lot of it. And here's a foul going against Temple. And against Victoria McCauley, who's just into the lineup, her first. But if it's not hitting threes, which we saw early, one hand taking it in for the layup, and now off a miss, tap over defenders.
In traffic, where there's contact, and everybody else is still on the floor, and she's up in the air with the offensive rebound.
Kelly Farris into the game for the first time, and so the freshman just into the game knocking down threes. And before 8 minutes passes, it's a 20-point UConn lead. It's amazing the precision with which they work.
Kelly Farris is going to be a star for this program. One of the better athletes on the team. She's getting a chance to go against Maya Moore in practice, Tiffany Hayes, Carolyn Doty. She's going to be an important cog in this UConn attack.
And primarily known for her defense right now. You saw she got into Kristen McCarthy that time. Here's Lauren Dixon coming in against taller traffic and draws a foul. And Victoria McCauley is going to pick up her second round coverage of the NCAA Women's Championship presented on ESPN by Capital One continues tonight, ESPN2 at 9:30 Eastern. Look at all those double-digit seeds, including 11 seed Arkansas Little Rock will take on Oklahoma. Joe Foley, the head coach of the Trojans, won a couple of NAIAs at Arkansas Tech and has Little Rock into a second round game against Oklahoma in Norman. That's, one of the things we've been talking about women's college basketball, the dominance of the big teams, especially Connecticut. We've seen what Stanford has done in Tennessee. But we have seen some double-digit seeds win in the first round of this tournament. And Gino Auriemma said slowly but surely some of the teams beyond the teams that we all know and see dominate in women's sports are coming along the way. And I think with some of the results we've seen so far, slowly but surely, perhaps that has happened.
Well, and the talent pool is dispersing more now than it has been in years past. So young ladies are seeing options to go to Gonzaga, who's still in the tournament, and Arkansas, Little Rock, Green Bay, some of these other schools that can compete now at this level.
Maya Moore knocks down another triple, her third. 5 for 5 Connecticut on three-pointers as Tanya Cardoza calls for timeout, and what a start for Maya Moore.
Well, you try to take away Tina Charles, and this is what you get. Last year's Player of the Year, starting off the game from deep, doesn't give up defensively, goes in for the pretty layup, gets up in traffic with the one-hand putback, and then once again, just deadly from outside. No weaknesses in her game. She's putting on a performance here in the first half.
Maya Moore, who had 2,045 points coming into tonight's game. You could add 13 to that. And so she's now just 75 points behind Rebecca Lobo for 6th all-time UConn scorers. And she'll get Tina Charles' record. She might get it before the tournament's over, but Tina's going to score too. She'll get it next year. Of course, Tina's going to be graduating. By the way, UConn's on pace to score 143.
They're so dominant defensively. And here they go once again on the fast break.
Lauren Dixon, the ball handler now. Nice play for Moore. She's cutting to the basket. Tiffany Hayes, will they keep up their three-point prowess? First miss of the evening.
And this young lady with the basketball right now, Quita Wallace, is going to have to get hot in a hurry.
Quita Wallace, a junior from Wilmington, started the year great. Struggled and has played her best basketball in the postseason. McCauley can't hit, and a loose ball foul underneath against Temple. And that foul's going to be on Marley Bennett, her first. 11:05 to go. Timeout on the floor. All Connecticut early. UConn 29-5 to open this game. Mark Kestisher and Stephen Bardo. You know, we talk about the Connecticut defense so prolific, or offense so prolific, but how about their defense? They've been doing this all season long. 2 for 15 for Temple.
Well, and that you notice their offense because that's the pretty part. But their defense is what dictates whether they win or lose, and so it's stellar, first in the nation, scoring, field goal percentage defense, and second in three-point field goal percentage defense. And so that's what did Coach Auriemma say? Defense determines if you win or lose. Offense determines the margins of the victory.
Look at that. 15 points allowed in the last 29 minutes. They blitzed Southern the second half. And you add that to the 5 Temple has scored here. Here's the question I have for you. Gino Auriemma said the first 5 minutes of the second half against Southern might have been the best basketball they've played all year. Where do you think he ranks these 9 minutes they've played to open against Temple?
It's got to be right there. And, you know, there was a possible situation with a little rust in the first round game, having a little bit of layoff. There's no rust this evening.
Here's Kalena Green on the turnaround jumper, and the baskets continue to mount for Connecticut as they look to reach the Sweet 16 for the regional semis for the 17th straight time. 7 Huskies have scored so far tonight.
And we are halfway through the first half, and 2 starters are on their best 2 players are on the bench right now.
And we always talk about Maya Moore and Tina Charles, but Kalena Green, their 5th-year senior, can get it done too.
Well, that's a set play right there, running Kalena Green into the post. Felt like she had an advantage there in the post area against Natasha Thames, and so the senior taking advantage of her opportunity.
Lauren Dixon will run the show. See Megan Gardler in the lineup. So Tiffany Hayes right now the only starter on the floor, and Kalena Green. 2 starters there. There's McCarthy with a steal for Temple. She doesn't have numbers. She'll take Gardler to the rack and can't finish.
Megan Gardler did a really good job of defending without fouling that time. Saw her lay a screen on one of the Southern players, and one lady was down for a couple minutes, and Megan Gardler just got back up and ran down the other end of the floor.
Back-to-back takeaways by Temple, and then Kalena Green fouling after the takeaway. That'll be the first UConn foul of the half. Temple 25 wins this year. The at-large out of the Atlantic 10. They lost in overtime to Xavier in the conference championship game. playing their best basketball of the year, but certainly weren't ready for the onslaught that UConn put on them so far this evening. They are a great come-from-behind team, but this is asking a lot.
Well, if you notice Temple right now, they're so rushed on the offensive end because they're having to keep up with the pace of UConn. So they're not used to playing this fast. So this is why you see them so disjointed on the offensive end.
Green hits 13 of 16. Here's the perfect example for teams looking down the road. Say there's bigger bigs to take on the likes of Tina Charles. If they kick out and they got open players, they are hitting those jumpers consistently. As Natasha Thames hits, and she's one of the first recruits for Tanya Cardoza, and they're starting their building block on North Broad Street in Philly at Temple.
Natasha Thames in the same mode as a Jasmine Stone. Good length, good defensive player.
So the Kalena Green's got on a turnaround fade. They're hitting them all.
Mark, you know how hard that is to defend? When you force a player to take a fadeaway jumper on the baseline, you can't do much better defensively.
It's basically undefendable, right?
Yes, and if she's going to hit it, that's just, it's good defense, but it's better offense.
They're looking inside for Green. Now Farris driving the lane. Tiffany Hayes with left hand. Stone has it.
Tiffany Hayes had one more ball swing, then an open jumper in the corner.
The freshman Thames on the block. Kristen McCarthy hitting from the baseline.
Basket by Kristen McCarthy.
Coach Ariema urging his team to move on the offensive end. This is animated as we've seen him in the first two games.
But that's the other thing. When you get up this big early, you don't want to lose your players' attention. And I suspect Coach Ariema won't lose their attention. And maybe Tiffany Hayes got the memo, just drilling another three.
It's got to be a bad feeling for Tanya Cardoza right now. I think her ladies are ready to play, Mark. They just got hit with a buzzsaw here early.
Well, the game plan apparently was to double inside. And, I mean, UConn's essentially hit almost all their threes, 6 of 7 from three-point land. Is it too tough to make an adjustment that early in the game?
No, I think that, you try to stick with your game plan. And they watched film, and Tina Charles has been the most dominant player on UConn this season, and you pick your poison.
Here's McCarthy for three, missed short. Jump ball, and Lauren Dixon, the shortest player on the court, had her fingers on it and got fouled. Kalena Green, the 5'10", fifth-year senior from South Carolina. She's enjoying the trip to Norfolk. Some of her family a little closer. And she's helping UConn lead by 27. Connecticut, the top seed in the Dayton region, looking to advance to Sunday's regional semifinal in Dayton, Ohio. Tina Charles, Big East Conference Player of the Year. She's only had to take 2 shots tonight, and hasn't mattered. Tanya Cardoza trying to find to get to the chalkboard and find something that's going to work, but this UConn team is so tough. They have so many weapons. And here's the pressure for Temple. And not only do they have so many weapons, but all these talented players on the same team as Tina Charles gets one off the glass. There's ego coming out of high school with these players, but they seem to check it at the door and play so well together.
Well, and there are a few programs that are able to do that. Tennessee, Stanford being 2 others that come to mind that have had so much success that when you come to that program, you're not going to be as good as Candace Parker or Tamika Holzclaw or Tina Charles or Maya Moore, so you got to get in where you fit in. And it's a lot easier for Oriana to recruit to his program and his style and to have the young ladies buy in.
She loves that elbow jumper, doesn't hit that one. And we have a foul underneath. It's going to go against Temple.
The Temple foul charge number 30.
Marley Bennett picking up her second. 7th foul, and we have some free throws coming here. The leading scorers as Maya Moore heads to the free throw line. Very balanced. led by the junior, the reigning National Player of the Year, and is up for that honor again this year. Hits the front end.
And you see the balance as a result of trying to take Tina Charles away early. She does a fabulous job of passing out of a double team to open teammates. And they're just having their way.
Lena Green will get a rest. Kelly Farris checking back in, and Maya Moore hits her free throws. You know, it's interesting with UConn as we get a little zone look here, is that for Connecticut, not only do they check the egos at the door as Bennett misses on the three-point attempt, you know, they strive for perfection as every team does. And this is about as close to perfect as you would think any team would love to play as Maya Moore scores again, yet I'm sure they would find 4 or 5 things that they don't like about what they've done so far.
Well, that last play right there was a great example. Maya Moore beat everybody down the floor. Lakeisha Edey was the only defender back for Temple. So she had to try to guard Maya Moore on the block. Maya's teammates recognized that for round 1, let her stay in the post, a high lob to the corner of the backboard, and Maya Moore has a layup. That's textbook execution recognition by UConn.
Rita Wallace able to fake out her defender to get some space, but can't get the shot down. Coming up on 4 minutes to go in the first half. As impressive a half as we saw in the second half against Southern as Kelly Farris hits it off the window. 46 first half points.
You know, the most impressive thing that we've seen, I think, Mark, Temple is a good defensive ball club. You know, they only give up 39% field goal shooting, 55 points per game they only allow. UConn is shredding them right now.
Lakeisha Edey missing on the 3. The Owls only shooting 20% in the first half, while UConn is upwards of 80. Maya Moore. Farris still loaded on the post. Charles getting into the double team, and she'll get to the line. So it'll be UConn at the free throw line, trying to build on a big first half lead after the timeout.
Trey Wingo here in our studios. Let's update you on a 10-2 matchup. Notre Dame's home floor taking on the Vermont Catamounts, fresh off their first ever tournament win. Kendra Cito all alone, and shooters bounce in Notre Dame's gym. Right now the Catamounts up by 3, 23-20. Mississippi State and Ohio State a 4-point game. Xavier and Vanderbilt a 3-point game. Mark Kestashire, your game is not a 3-point game, but I'm sure you're enjoying the action along with Stephen Barker.
Well, a 3-point game for Maya Moore, because she can't miss. 3 for 3 from 3 land. She's hit all 3 of her 2-pointers. And now she's headed to the bench as we return with Tina Charles at the free throw line, and a dominating first half performance by the Huskies. And off the miss, Kyla McLaren has it. UConn will reset. Baseline drive, Hayes drawing contact, and she'll get to the line. Jasmine Stone will pick up her first.
If there was any rust for the first round game of UConn, that's all history. They are sharp, fast, aggressive with the basketball, and having fun while doing it.
Those are all the recipes for a team that's trying to become the first women's back-to-back unbeaten national champs. Granted, they have 4 more stops after this one, but it's hard to imagine any team out there in the nation. And there are some great teams. You saw Stanford came 3,000 miles east, actually led at halftime in Hartford. The Tennessee, Stanford, you name it. Nebraska's the #1 seed. It is going to be quite a handful for anyone who faces Gino Auriemma's squad. And that's not going out on the limb on my part.
Well, we talk about potential teams that may give them trouble. The #2 seed in their own region, Ohio State. They could possibly match up with them in a date against Ohio State in Dayton. So that would be quite a series of events there. But again, I mean, I know Jantel Davenport and Samantha Prehalis for Ohio State, great 1-2 punch. But there are no weaknesses on this UConn squad.
No, and of course it would be Jim Foster, the head coach, mentor of Gino Auriemma. if it matched up that way. Tiffany Hayes coming out, getting some rest as UConn has one regular on the floor, Caroline Doty.
Oh, and just to talk about how dominant UConn is, there's another team on the West Coast that's having an extraordinary run, but we barely talk about them, the Stanford.
Yeah, Stanford, of course, has twice. And check out, here you go, non-head-to-head games. They've played twice and have lost twice to Connecticut. But outside of those games, they've won 53 in a row, and yet no one talks about that.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great run for Stanford. And, you know, I think at this point, getting into the tournament, if you're Stanford, you probably like that. That no one's talking about you right now, and they're just sitting back, taking care of their business, and hoping that they can get to the Final Four and get a chance to knock off UConn if both teams take care of their business up until that point.
If both teams get there, it would be the national championship game, as they're on the opposite side of the draw. And of course, the last loss for this Husky team was to Stanford in the national semifinals 2 years ago in 2008. And since they have won 73 in a row, and off by Glass. And Kelly Ferris just shook her head and said, hey, I'll take it any way I can get it.
She's got to call that out, though. she'll say she meant to do that, but you got to call that one first.
UConn has put up 51 points, and we still have 2 minutes to go in the first half. By comparison, Temple scores about 61 in entire games this year. And there's the tail of the tape. A three-point try, a rare miss by UConn.
2 minutes left in the first half. UConn has one starter left in the game.
It was the second three-point miss by Connecticut tonight in their ninth try. Marley Bennett lost it. Well, the NCAA Women's Championship, presented on ESPN by Capital One, continues on ESPN Saturday afternoon, noon and 2 p.m. Eastern. Both Memphis regional semifinal games. Tennessee will get the Georgetown-Baylor winner, and then Duke versus the San Diego State-West Virginia winner. Of course, Tennessee got knocked out in the first round last year. Baylor's that's going to be a great matchup with Brittany Griner down low.
Oh, it'd be something. Brittany Griner was amazing in their victory. 14 blocks, and about 4 of them she never left the floor. Just using her 6'8" height and a wingspan to block shots. Incredible.
Megan Gardler scoring for UConn. She had those 14 block shots, NCAA tournament record, though that stat was only started being kept in 1988.
Yeah, because there's a lady by the name of Van Donovan that played here for ODU.
Hall of Famer.
15 blocks in San Francisco, and she was 6'8".
Caroline Doty knocks in another basket. All smiles for the Huskies. She has 9. Connecticut is shooting over 75% in the first half. Not the recipe to take down the unbeaten squad. Under a minute to go in the half.
Connecticut getting a chance to work on some of the things defensively that coach wants to see. We've seen a 1-2-2 zone. We've seen a 2-2-1 three-quarter court trap. We've seen a 1-2-2, 2-3. I mean, man-to-man. They are able to work on a lot of different things here in the first half.
What's also helpful is they have such big leads. They get to rest all the starters. I mean, they keep their minutes under 30 per game, which will only help later on. Scrap on the floor, tied possession. It's going to Temple. And Donovan, we mentioned her, great ODU Lady Monarch. Her jersey hangs high above here at the TED. Great history of women's basketball in Norfolk, Virginia, and here at Old Dominion.
Yeah, and a lot of people, you know, I've got a teenager at home, and he thinks the world started when he was born. And so, you know, you have to remind young people that there has been a 6'8" player that was dominant in college basketball before Brittany Griner. Her name was Ann Donovan.
At the buzzer won't go, emblematic of Temple's first half. A dominating first half for Maya Moore and the UConn Huskies. In the first round, they shot 56. That's pedestrian. 78% in the first half. And at the half, all Connecticut, 55-12 over Temple. That is our halftime score.
All right, Mark, thanks. Welcome into our studios. Trey Wingo here with Carol Lawson and the coach, Carolyn Peck. There's absolutely nothing pedestrian about what UConn is doing tonight to Temple. You look at the numbers here, guys. You have 78% shooting. They're 7 of 9 from three-point range. That sounds an awful lot like what UConn saw Stanford do to Iowa last night. It's almost as if they're saying, if that's what you're going to do, fine, this is what we're going to do.
Well, you know, it's felt like that during the streak. Anytime there's a team that throws out a challenge or throws down the gauntlet, like maybe this is a team that could potentially upset Connecticut, what do? They raise the stakes, and they're one better. And you look at this team offensively, they're really hitting on all cylinders here in the first half, and it started with Maya Moore's aggression and her ability to hit the three-point shot.
Well, that's the reason that they are the best team in the nation, because they don't play against their competition, they play against themselves. They've set a standard, and they just try to, like you said, one up a little bit better. Boy, Maya Moore started that game on fire.
Well, you know, you go back to the first round game, and she was 4 of 7 from deep. In that game, she hit her first couple of threes. In this game, remember, at one point during the Big East tournament, she was 8 of 48 from the field, and UConn was still winning by 13, 14, 15 points. If Maya Moore and UConn shoot well from the outside, it's going to be almost impossible to stop this team. And let's take a look and show you what we're talking about here. In Stanford's first half against Iowa, they put up 61. They were up 27. They were 9 of 12 from threes and shot 68%. Well, UConn only has 55, but their defense is locking people down. Care, they're up by 43 points.
That's the difference maker. The difference maker is that UConn is not only one of the best offensive teams in the country, the best, they're also the best defensive team in the country, and that's what sets them apart.
All right, we'll see what happens, and we'll keep you updated on the second half.
Welcome back to second round coverage of the NCAA Women's Championship presented on ESPN by Capital One. We're at the Ted Constant Convocation Center on the campus of Old Dominion in Norfolk, Virginia. All UConn in the first half of this second round game, 55-12 over Temple. Along with former Illinois great Stephen Bardo, I'm Mark Kestisher. Well, Temple decided they're going to take Tina Charles out of this game. The only problem is everyone else from UConn has killed Temple.
Yeah, the balance was impressive offensively by UConn. They took Tina away early, but this was the best half of college basketball on the women's side that I've ever seen. You see the balance. Maya Moore got it started. Tiffany Hayes goes deep. This was just the nastiest move of the half to me right there. That was ridiculous. Kalena Green with the spin, and everybody getting involved for UConn on that offensive end.
There you see Tina Charles limited to 4 points, but Moore and Doty, Hayes and Farris off the bench had 8 points. And if you add it all up, the 10 points Kalena Green and company gave up to Southern in the second half of round one, and the 12 they allowed in the first half, they've allowed 22 points in their last 40 minutes of NCAA tournament basketball.
Again, the offense is pretty. The defense is winning championships for them. They look as sharp as any point in the season here in the first half.
Bennett, three-point try won't go. The only thing negative for UConn you could say is they had a turnover to start this game, a turnover to start the second half. They trailed 2-0 to Southern. That's about it. Everything's been superlative. The UConn Huskies trying to get to 35-0 and make it 74 straight wins and add on to their record. And a nice move by Tina Charles.
Wait a minute. Let me just try to explain what happened. Tina catches in the post. Reverse pivot, face up the defense. Swings through a very good defender in Jasmine Stone. Takes a bump and knocks down a hook shot.
And now showing her complete game with the block shot. Wow. That's an impressive team. I don't think anything we said have not been said already about this club. It's really just about game by game, 4-minute segment by 4-minute segment. And there's an offensive rebound and a miss. Is striving for perfection, as this team says, and they know they've got 4.5 games left in this season.
You know what, Mark? This is a team that's internally motivated. Coach Ariema doesn't have to say a whole lot to them to get them going and get them ready to play.
Contact, no foul. The other way, Kalena Green missing, but UConn will get another chance. Temple defense played so well against James Madison. Here's Tiffany Hayes, and she knocks down a three. You know, they packed it inside the lane. We saw it in the first half. They're daring them to hit the outside shot. That's all they've done is hit 8 out of 10.
Well, and you got to take something away. So the lower percentage shots are from three-point land. You're 8 of 10. You can't. There's nothing you can do.
Here's the stat for Temple as well as they get the score. Is they are 16th in the nation, allowing 54.9 points per game this season, and they gave up 55 in the first half. As Tina Charles answers on the other end. 4 points in the first half and a quick 4 here in the second.
They're getting Tina Charles some looks, some misdirection action, screen away, bring her to the basketball.
Another Tina Charles rebound off that miss. Down court, Lakeisha Eady intercepting the pass. Christy Watkins Day, number 20 in the dark jersey. Trying to set something up for Tanya Cardoza, her first matchup against her former boss of 14 years at UConn. Must have been a difficult halftime speech she had to give to her team as the foul's picked up by Tina Charles.
Well, showing you Tina Charles' game. Watch this. Reverse pivot, swing through, takes the bump, hook shot, beautiful move, and then doesn't quit on the play here defensively, comes up with the block and the save. And she just got called for a foul, but it looked like it was all ball to me. So
that's another thing with this Connecticut team, is they don't foul either. No. You know, because if you want to find a weakness in this club, it might be if Tina Charles, say, gets into some foul trouble down the line. They might have, you know, some issues at depth at that position, but she's rarely in any kind of foul trouble.
Well, UConn's so stout defensively in each position that there's really not a lot of attacks at the rim. So if you can limit penetration from the team, and Tina Charles, as long as she's in the paint area, is somewhat protected.
Well, the only kryptonite tonight's been about from 15 feet, missing on that one. And we got a push foul against UConn. On Friday, we'll crown the Division II women's basketball champ live from St. Joseph, Missouri on ESPN 2 and ESPN360.com. 8 Eastern time for live stats, game recaps from all rounds of every championship. Go to NCAA.com, the home for all 88 NCAA championships. Tina Charles making her move, gets down to the block and puts it in. Can't give her that much room in the lane. She's got 10 after a 4-point first half.
Well, I said it before the game. I was asked, how do you stop UConn? And unless they get food poisoning pre-game meal, there's not a whole lot you can do.
It's a nice move by Marley Bennett. And here's a steal for Temple. Lakeisha Eady. Back to Bennett for 3, and she hits it from straight away. A little emotion from Marley Bennett. 5 straight for Temple.
Competitive group.
There's some contact and an offensive foul against Maya Moore as Bennett is slow to get up. Might have lost her wind on that one as Maya really got into it.
The offensive foul is charged to UConn's number 23, Maya Moore. That's her
timeout with 15:43 to go. Marley Bennett, they work on her. We'll be right back. Another beautiful night in Norfolk, Virginia, and second-round coverage of the NCAA Women's Championship presented on ESPN by Capital One continues tonight, 9:30 Eastern, ESPN2. Among those 4 games, see the 12-seed Green Bay, the 4-seed Iowa State. That's in Ames on the Cyclones' home floor, but also the winner of that game will get the winner of our game, which right now looks like Connecticut in Dayton against either Iowa State or Green Bay, as Gino Auriemma goes after career win number 731, celebrating his 56th birthday today. I think it's been a good birthday so far.
I think it has, and ironically, Tanya Cardova, head coach of Temple, her birthday was yesterday, along with who else, Mark?
Guy I know.
Yeah.
Some old guy I know.
Happy belated birthday, Mark.
Thank you, Stephen. I know you got one coming up as well.
Yeah, Aries, great minds, think alike.
Tanya Cardoza celebrating as well, as you point out, and right now no celebration for her. It's a big night, certainly, for the program, getting national exposure as Tina Charles continues her second half resurgence. But as Coach Auriemma put it yesterday, this was going to be the biggest night, or more people are going to watch Temple tonight than they've ever seen of any Temple game in history. And she's building a big program down there as Maya Moore is fouled. And regardless, win, lose, or draw, she's certainly taken upon what Dawn Staley did, went on to South Carolina, and Tanya getting them through to the second round of the NCAA tournament. Big things ahead in Philadelphia.
Oh, there's no question about it. With the playing experience that she had, the coaching experience next to Gino Auriemma for 14 seasons, and then coming in, she's such a refreshing coach to talk to. And I think, she gave us a lot of information, a lot of insight, and very honest. And I think her team responds to that. The honest level of communication, what she's expecting of her young ladies, and you can see the way that they respond to her that, there's nothing but brighter days ahead for the Temple program.
Stephen, you asked me if I liked hockey the other day. We got a line change here for UConn. 5 in, 5 out, and the starting 5 getting a big hand. Maya Moore headed to the bench, still perfect tonight. And they will play a 2-3 zone against Temple as they come up.
Coach Auriemma knows that in a 6-game run to a national championship, there could be injuries, there could be foul trouble. There are some situations that are not under your control, but if you can get the majority of your team experience, it will come up big at some point in the future.
Gino Auriemma trying to lead Connecticut to a 7th national championship, trying to go back-to-back, and of course unprecedented in the women's game, go back-to-back unbeaten. There's Quita Wallace, can't finish. Getting a look at Jackie Fernandez right now, Connecticut native. To Lauren Dixon, set it up for UConn, winners of 73 in a row, and you think that's a big number. How about they've won 135 straight games against non-ranked competition, of which Temple is unranked. Here's Fernandez for 3. And an offensive board for Kelly Farris, who's fouled.
It's just an incredible number there. And that lets you know that no off nights for UConn. And they get everybody's best shot, and they still dominate. That's just incredible what they've been able to accomplish and the fashion in which they go about handling their business.
Well, we can continue to read stats, but one is more impressive than the other. That interior pass knocked away by Temple. And the fact that they have gone over 200 straight games without allowing a team to shoot 50% from the floor. 224 straight games. And here's the success for Coach Gino Auriemma since they broke through that 94-95 championship season. 15 Sweet 16s, 9 Final Fours, and this club has held Temple to 15% shooting. 15, that's a 1-5. And again, they have held opponents to 30% this year, 30.2. They're going to break the school record. That 94-95 team that broke through allowed 31.5. So tonight's going to go a long way toward that if Temple doesn't get something going. And here's Quita Wallace. Missing on the 3, offensive board McCauley, and she'll get to the line.
Well, Quita Wallace never got going for Temple. Their offensive spark off the bench. And just the length defensively of UConn, able to pressure the basketball, whether they're in the zone or man-to-man. The defense is just very impressive.
There's that statistic about under 50%. We want to take it one step further as they've gone 8 for 42 tonight. Only 2 teams this year have even shot 40% against UConn, and that all adds up to 73 wins, at least 34 straight so far this year, and 73 including the last 2 years.
About some of the teams around the nation who look good, and they have an opportunity to see UConn in this tournament. Talked about Tennessee last season not making out of the first round there, and now find themselves playing extremely well.
Megan Gardner knocking down a 3-pointer. In a Springfield, PA, Philadelphia suburb. A lot of Philly angle tonight. Of course, Coach Auriemma from Norristown. Caroline Doty out of Germantown Academy. Taking on the Philly team Temple tonight. Showing them #1 in the nation. Another defensive stop by UConn. They've hit 9 of 12 from three-point land tonight. And the backup's getting a lot of minutes in this game.
Another team we were mentioning, Mark Stanford. Rosalind Gold and Wude. Neka Blumike. Did I say that right?
You got it right. And last night, we talked about, the outstanding front court of Stanford, but they hit their first 9 3-pointers, so they don't get you inside, they get you outside. And the same could be said for UConn, enjoying a 51-point lead.
And then to get to the Final Four, but
so your bracket's busted?
Just like the other one.
It's in tatters?
Well, no, not so much, because I had UConn to take it off, so I think I'm still okay right now.
Yeah, Courtney Vandersloot fouled out late in that game, and Vivian Freisen, who's from Seattle, boy, did she put up some performance last night. Dribbling the ball up in the front court, 23 points, 9 boards, and Gonzaga, 7 seed, heading to Sacramento. They're on the opposite side of Stanford. There's another rebound and a foul. It's going to go on Quita Wallace. Some of the stars, you missed it. Brittany Griner of Baylor with the 14 block shots. We just mentioned Vivian Freisen and Alicia Manning. When a Manning plays at Tennessee, usually good things happen.
Yeah, that's 3 assists shy of a triple-double in a tournament performance. Getting multiple contributions, Pat Summitt and her club.
And Kelly Kane came up a rebound and 4 block shot of getting a triple-double of her own as we have a turnover and a traveling violation against Connecticut. There are some very talented teams out there. You try to stack it up on paper against Gino Auriemma's club, and it's hard to do on paper. You have to see what happens when they throw up the ball that night. But if they continue to play the way they have, they've got 73 points, 73 straight wins, all of them by double digits. Oftentimes I say they've been untested because of those double-digit games, but, the coaches will disagree and say, well, we've had some tests. They had the West Virginia games in the championship of the Big East. It was not decided till that first segment of the second half as Quita Wallace knocks down a 3, but they haven't had that game where it's 1 or 2 points, maybe trailing, tense going late, and you won't know until it happens, if it happens in this tournament.
Yeah, and coaches like to be politically correct. They haven't been tested. When you average, double-figure wins, I know the test that you're talking about. Last possession tested.
Gut check.
Tina Charles possibly being on the bench in foul trouble. A dynamic team on the other end with multiple players able to create coming down the stretch. You see those the numbers right there. They want to tell us they've been tested, but they haven't really been tested yet.
We saw that 50-plus column. Number 9 was Southern, and number 10 could be Temple. Right now it is at 50. Megan Gardler behind the screen. And a rare 3-point missed shot by Connecticut. I think one of the things that Gino Auriemma had said in the days leading up to this game, as Quita Wallace knocks in a 3, when you do face someone from your coaching tree like Tanya Cardoza, you're hoping they make all the shots. You're hoping that they have a good showing for themselves, and then as he pointed out, and then you hope they go home losers. But that's probably the hardest thing for Coach Auriemma tonight. While the game's going on, obviously he wants to win, but he also wants to see the other team acquit itself.
Yeah, that's the tough part about this business. When you help develop people to the next level and they're able to take control of their own program, and then you have to face them. And that's 14 years of history. And Coach Auriemma can look back at Tanya beating his team, like we showed earlier tonight, when she was a guard in Virginia. And so there's multiple levels of emotion and memories that go back and forth. And for Tanya as well, she understands that, I'm going up against my mentor, who she said is a genius. She called Gino a genius.
Worship the ground he walks on.
Worship the ground. So, there's a lot of emotion tied up into these games, but that's what happens when you're successful and you develop a coaching tree like Gino Auriemma has.
Lauren Dixon the other way, fastest player on the court at 5'4", and takes it for the layup. Hey, it's tough emotions for everyone. Tina Charles was saying that when she would get chewed out by Gino Auriemma, that was the office she went to feel better, to talk to someone else. Good cop, bad cop. Fernandez can't believe she missed there.
And Maya Moore credits Tanya for some of the ball handling drills and these goggles that they wear and helping them with their handle and guard development skills that Tanya helped out some of the UConn players with. So a lot of connections between the two programs.
Nice pass down low to Quita Wallace, and she gets fouled. And she'll get to the line for two after the timeout. 7:44 to go in Norfolk. Connecticut in control.
Trey Wingo here in our studios. Let's update you on the game between Ohio State and Mississippi State. Last year in the second round, Buckeyes won, but Rima Kalando during her part to make sure the Bulldogs win this one. They're up by 13, only 10 minutes to play. Back to Mark Kesterson.
All right, Trey, thanks a lot. Wow, that is a big one if Mississippi State can hold on and advance to Dayton, where they would get Florida State. There's the bracket. Whoever wins that Mississippi State-Ohio State game on the other side, Connecticut. Could probably move them across, and then later on ESPN2, Green Bay and Iowa State, and the winner of that game would get the Huskies in Dayton, Ohio. As the Sweet 16 looms in all the games here on the ESPN family of networks.
Well, if you're UConn right now, you're trying to get everybody some time and some tournament experience. And if you're Temple, you still want your team to play hard when you're on the floor. Pride factor involved, and still want to get better every time you step on the floor.
This move for Heather Buck, but won't go down. Jasmine Stone the rebound. And then, of course, the only way to win a national championship is you got to have health. And that's what UConn has had all year. All their starters have played every game. And that's also the other deciding factor. Can they stay healthy for the next couple of weeks? And that's obviously out of your hands.
Yeah, and some of it, though, Marcus, what you talked about earlier, is that they don't have players playing a lot of minutes. No one's averaging over 30 minutes a game, and so that tends to keep you fresher. And a lot of your injuries are a result of your body is tired and something happens.
Foul was on Heather Buck, and Quita Wallace will go to the line. She has the last 9 Temple points as Kristen McCarthy and Lakeisha Edie back into the Temple lineup. Quita Wallace at the free throw line. As we said, she started the season so well and has finished pretty well. You saw that 21 points. Not able to convert on the three-point play. Tanya Cardoza telling us she has so much talent. And as Gino Auriemma is so tough on Tina Charles, Tanya has been tough on her. And it's starting to pay off here in the postseason. Obviously, today over their final game.
Well, it's not unusual to see supremely talented players that don't bring it every day. And that's what Coach Cardoza was saying about Quita Wallace.
What an unbelievable sequence. But UConn couldn't finish. Kylie McLaren is some passer in the post. But they weren't able to get it done underneath. This is the second string in now for UConn. And they are not as talented as the first, but they're supremely talented in their own right. Down court for Heather Buck, and she lays it in.
Heather Buck getting some opportunities at the basket. She missed that last one with the nice hot potato action by her teammates getting her the rock, but she made sure of that one.
He was a two-time high school player of the year in the state of Connecticut, but struggled right out of the gate. Missed some time. I had mono earlier in her freshman year, redshirted. And gets a block there, but Stone gets it back and puts it in. Jasmine Stone for Temple.
An opportunity, mixing it up a lot here. The 6'3" redshirt freshman gonna be counted on here soon. And again, you just can't limit what this experience does for the ladies that are coming off the bench.
7 to shoot. Lauren Dixon is behind the screen, now launches the three and gets a little window action.
3-point field goal for Lauren Dixon.
And the UConn bench loving this one. UConn is 10 of 15 from three-point land. 30 of their 80 points from outside the arc. Harris the rebound.
That's incredible. 9 different players. It's a team that predicates itself on sharing the rock, sharing the wealth, and everybody involved. They have so many wrinkles offensively that they can isolate any one player at any time.
And three-point try, 11 goes down for Kelly Farris. 11 three-pointers made. And a timeout called by Temple. 4:21 to go. UConn headed to the Sweet 16. Welcome back to Norfolk, Virginia. There you see Gino Auriemma's wife, Kathy. One of his daughters, Alyssa, here in Norfolk. His eldest daughter, Jenna, is expecting. So Coach Auriemma, celebrating his 56th birthday today, will be a grandfather for the first time in a couple of months. Congratulations to the Auriemma family.
And I guarantee you, no championship will ever compare to the way he feels about that grandchild.
Well, he said he's looking forward to the next stage of life. You have your kids, and then your kids start having kids. I think he said in the paper, now you're an old man. He's going to be Gramps. I'm sure he's going to appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. It's great for him to have that experience. And, for his family to be able to join him here and watch this performance.
Wow, Kylie McLaren, an awesome pass on the backdoor cut from Kelly Farris on the reverse, high off the glass.
We heard Coach Auriemma talk about Kelly McLaren's passing ability, and it's been on display here in the last 3 minutes.
It really is uncanny. She's a fabulous passer in the post. Three-point attempt up and in for Quita Wallace, who will be back next year for a senior season. They are going to lose their point guard, Lakeisha Edie. Christy Watkins Day, she's got 12 points, does Wallace. Tanya Cardozo hoping a challenge in the Atlantic 10. You know what they're really hoping for? Another great pass by McLaren. This one not finished off by Dixon as Edie got in the way. What she's hoping for is maybe they won't be picked so low as fourth or fifth. Every year they're picked low in the preseason, and they end up tying for second as Farris gets the block and the steal.
Yeah, but that's okay, because what happens, they'll look back and say, wait a minute, we got to stop picking this team so low.
And a substitution timeout here as Heather Buck comes in for Kylie McLaren. Get a nice hand. The NCAA Women's Championship, presented on ESPN by Capital One, continues on ESPN Saturday afternoon. Noon and 2 p.m. Eastern Time, both Memphis regional semifinal games. Tennessee and Baylor will meet up. And then Duke and the San Diego State West Virginia winner coming up in the second matchup in Memphis. Here's a breakaway for Natasha Thames, who puts it in. Good-looking freshman, 6-footer. Well, the only player who hasn't scored for UConn tonight is Jackie Fernandez, and she's on the floor in the far corner. See if they get her going. She's got the ball now.
And believe me, they know that right now, right? She's going to get some opportunities here before the game ends.
9 to shoot for Lauren Dixon. Three-pointer goes down for Megan Gardner. And the hits keep on coming for the UConn Huskies.
Well, and it's not like they're trying to run up the score. I mean, these young ladies are just trying to improve on their game. This is their opportunity to get out and play as hard as Coach wants them to. And so it's a fine balance that Coach Auriemma has to play along. To not embarrass his opponents, but also to get his players the needed time and experience.
You've got 5 players on the floor who are going up against the starting 5 in practice every day. They're going up against the best starting 5 in all of women's college basketball. And they get a chance to play an entire half. I don't think they're going to play extremely hard. Looking for Buck on the post. Nice pass to the cutting Gardner. She gets 2 cracks at it. Loose on the floor, and there's the tie-up, and it'll go to Temple. Timeout on the floor. We have 61 seconds to go in Norfolk, Virginia. Gino Auriemma, 68 seconds away from another Sweet 16. And now for tonight's Capital One game track. There you see Maya Moore had 17 of those 19 in the first half. A perfect evening. And the defense of UConn just as impressive as the offense. 22% holding Temple in all those turnovers. And all smiles for Maya Moore and number 1 UConn on their way to a 74th consecutive victory.
An outstanding performance as they try to take one part of the dynamic duo out. Double team Tina Charles on the block, and Maya Moore recognized immediately and took advantage.
Hit 3 after 3, had a steal and a layup. It was 33-5 after the opening 11 minutes. And it's been all UConn from there. 45 seconds to go. And our Coke Zero player of the game is Maya Moore. Hard to pick one. They played all so well, but she set the tone in this one.
Yeah, came out quickly with threes. She got a steal. She got to the bucket off the steal. She had a tip in, came back with another 3, and just set the tone for the evening for the UConn Huskies.
You know, she was often asked about, the perfect season and the perfect game. Well, statistically, she had a perfect one. 6 for 6 from the field, hit 3 for 3 from three-point land, hit all 4 of the free throws. 19 points for Maya Moore, and they are 4 wins away from making it back-to-back undefeated national champs. But a lot of work still to be done. Heather Buck fouled underneath with 18.8 seconds to go. Caroline Godey, Helena Green, Kylie McLaren looking up and seeing 18.8 left as Gino Auriemma will go to 8-1 on his birthday. A happy birthday for the head coach. Heather Buck at the free throw line makes the first with 18.8 seconds to go. And second round coverage, the NCAA Women's Championship presented on ESPN by Capital One continues coming up at 9:30 Eastern, ESPN2. You see those games as we work our way toward the round of 16. And we're under 16 seconds to go in this one. Temple, which had won 10 of 12 coming into this game. They will go to 0-4 in second round games. They've never advanced to the regional semis. And they're held to 36 points tonight, and you can make it 74 in a row for the UConn Huskies. Gino Auriemma with a hug for Tina Charles, Helena Green, and now he'll head up and meet Tanya Cardoza, his former assistant, wish them well on a season close. So UConn, for the 17th straight time, into the regional semis. They're headed to Dayton, and who will they face in the round of 16? The winner of the Iowa State-Green Bay game, which is coming up. Coming up next, college basketball scoreboard. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, and your exclusive home for the NCAA Women's Championship. UConn 90, Temple 36. Now let's go to Trey Wingo in the studio.
All right, Mark Kestecher, thanks so much. Welcome in. Glad you're here with us. Trey Wingo alongside Kara Lawson and Carolyn Peck. 74 in a row by a ridiculous margin again, double digits. Here's the question I have for both of you for UConn right now. When they played in the Big East tournament, they struggled a little bit with their shots. They did not shoot well. They won only by 15, 12 in some of those games. If they shoot like this, and I'm not talking about 78% in the first half, because no one's doing that over a 4-game stretch, but let's say they shoot between 45 and 50% from the floor. Is there a team that can hang with them if they shoot that well from the floor?
Not if they play defense like they did tonight. And I think that's the defining characteristic of this team is how strong they are on the defensive end. When their offense has been below average, they've still been strong on the defensive end and been able to win. So when it's above average, I don't think there's a team that can beat them.
I think you're exactly right. I think that one of the things in the Big East tournament that they worked on was their defense when their offense wasn't there. And then you pointed out in the game against Southern where they got Maya Moore back in a rhythm of shooting that three-point shot, and that has carried over against Temple.
Listen, in sports, what you want to see excellence. You want to see greatness. Don't kid yourself. What you're seeing right now from UConn, you may never see again, so enjoy it. Let's